Hello everyone, my name is Benjamin Adams, and today I'm going to be talking about how I get rid of bad thoughts. I've had bad thoughts for quite a while now, and they can be really stressful, especially when you feel like how I did, and it feels like there's no escape and there's no way to get rid of them, and it feels like that there's no escape and there's no way back and there's no way to freedom. So today I'm going to be showing you what I did to get rid of them. Every so often I do have a few, but mostly I have none. So, I'm going to be explaining my solutions and what the thoughts are about, and basically just information about the thoughts. And so, I'm also going to be showing some of my solutions, and I'll also have a special link later in the video to one of my solutions. And if you guys would like to use it, then you can. So, in a second, I will talk more about what's happening. So, my bad thoughts were starting a few months ago, last year, at the time we were recording this, and they basically never went away, and they have, been having a really hard time getting rid of them until a few months ago. So, in a second, I'm going to be showing an interview about my bad thoughts, and then we'll have an explanation about the bad thoughts and also the solutions. Alright, here we go. I am Benjamin Adams, a student at the Kentucky School for the Blind, and I am getting rid of a lot of bad thoughts, and here are some questions about my bad thoughts and how I get rid of them. So, the things that these thoughts are about is sometimes, like when I think about someone or something, they'll be like, oh, I hate this thing, or I hate this person, and sometimes it even happens with religious figures too, which I really don't like, because sometimes it'll be like, it'll try to hate on that too, and sometimes it'll just be about bad things, and sometimes sometimes they'll try to interrupt things and get me distracted, and sometimes I'll, try to make sure that I can just ignore them. Random things throughout the day, if I'm just thinking about someone, or sometimes if I'm getting a little bit stressed, like if I'm having a hard time with someone, or someone else around me is kind of not feeling the best, sometimes that'll cause them to pop up. Or sometimes if I'm sick, once I start to feel sick, then sometimes they'll pop up too. I do something that I call the over-attention effect, which I will talk about later in the documentary. And it's when I take my phone and the Alexa and, make them feedback on a call. I'll use my phone to call the Alexa, and I'll feedback on speakerphone while I talk, and then I'll replay those sounds, and that kind of overwhelms my brain to a point where I can't think about much. I can only think about, those sounds, and they're like, and that helps me get rid of them. Another technique that I use is I just say, okay, these are just thoughts, and they can't control me, and they'll be gone here soon, and then all of a sudden I just let them pass, and that's another technique I have. Some ways that people can, make sure they don't contribute to the thoughts, which means make them worse, is try not to, give me problems. And another thing that I do is I say I know when I already know something. Don't be like, oh wait, you're shutting me down or anything. Just try to allow me to go through things. And another thing is if I am just, like another thing that makes me kind of bored is, folding clothes, and sometimes when I'm bored, during like assignments and stuff, that'll make them happen. And if someone's giving me a hard time overall, sometimes it'll, make that happen. And as long as I'm, getting along with anyone, and there's not that much crying around that could make me sad, and everyone's being positive around me, that will be a way to make sure that they don't contribute. Okay, so I'm about to explain everything about these bad thoughts and what's been happening lately with them. So at first they were just like small things that are happening, like I hate this, and the worst ones that I've been having is like thoughts that say like I hate Jesus, which is of course definitely not true, but those are the worst ones that have been happening a long time ago. And eventually just one night, when my mind was wandering, got to the point where I just couldn't sleep. I had those thoughts repeating in my head. I hate this person, I hate that person, I hate this, and stuff like, oh, I want to hurt myself, I want to do this, and all these really bad thoughts happening, and they've been, interfering with a few dreams, and sometimes, rarely, they would interfere with dreams. Luckily, and that's why I love, love dreams, is just because, they help, sometimes, most of the time, they don't interfere, but by that time I had to talk to my mom, and it took me a while to go to sleep, and that was really hard. But and and I'm sure most of you don't know, I love funny noises. One of my favorite noises is feedback from a phone, and this is actually how I created the overattention effect. So at one point, while the bad thoughts were still ramping up and starting to try to plan their takeover, and these intrusive thoughts were trying to plan their takeover, trying to take over me when they were first trying to do that. I was listening to the sounds. I put my phone and had it call the Alexa, and I was listening to the sounds of me saying hello, hello, and going hello, 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 all the feedback sounds, and I thought that was kind of funny. But then I noticed, eventually, I started to notice, wait a second. When I'm listening to these funny sounds, the bad thoughts are not there as much. So I kept doing it, and I was like, wait, it's overwhelming my mind to the point where they don't happen. And that's when I realized, wait, this is actually good. And I call it the overattention effect because it actually brings my mind so much attention that I can only think of like one thing, which is kind of a good thing because it gets rid of my bad thoughts. But the bad thing about that, the downside, is I'm not aware of the environment around me when I'm doing the overattention effect, because I'm so used to I'm just listening to the sound and I'm having it get rid of my bad thoughts. But I also noticed that it was kind of a temporary thing, where like after 13 minutes of not hearing it, like when I'm done, about 13 minutes later they would start to pop up again, and so sometimes I'll use the overattention effect and stuff, and that helps me get rid of them. And I figured out another technique where I'll just say, okay, these are just thoughts, and they're just useless, and they can't control me, and I just can let it go, and I'll just let it go, and that's how I get rid of the thoughts. And that's basically it. Just a quick warning, guys, there will be a little bit of high-pitched noises in this section of the video. But here we go. So here's one of my solutions that I use to get rid of my bad thoughts. I call it the overattention effect, and I've probably explained it multiple times. It's where I play like the sounds of phone feedback, from my phone, and that will essentially drown out the other thoughts. So I'm about to do it right now, and this is kind of what it sounds like. So I just put it up against my ear. And the high-pitched sounds get rid of the bad thoughts. Sounds will kind of blast in my mind and help get rid of the bad thoughts. I'll just let you guys listen for a little bit longer, and if you do want to jump forward, you're free to do that. And I will be putting a QR code up on screen right now for anyone who would like to try out this technique. So if anyone of you are interested in trying out this technique, if anyone wants to try it out, just like how I do it, just scan the QR code that's on screen right now and go ahead and just download the files from the Drive folder from Google Drive, and then you can listen to them yourself and do the exact same thing I did. So that's it for the overattention effect. And the second way that I get rid of bad thoughts is I just say, hey, these are just thoughts and they can't control me, and I can just let them go, and I just let them go, and that's my techniques for getting rid of the bad thoughts. And I can always talk with someone if I need to, like a trusted adult. So those are my techniques. I'd like to give special thanks to Miss Courtney Schuster and Miss Becky Spees. Thank you guys for watching.